Hey, dear Tyler, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on the time that you're listening to this, and depending on your time zone. It's nice to be with you again. It's nice to have this opportunity to talk to you and just, reach out and, have these conversations again. I really hope you're good. I hope you're fine. I hope life is treating you well. And I hope the end of the year is coming along pretty good. I want to start off by appreciating, everyone that has patronized my friend's business, her drinks, and then my other friend's business, her small chops and chin chin. I am really, really grateful. It means a lot. And this is still me, making the clarion call that you should patronize them for the drinks. They're available here in Abuja, right? So you could always check out TKB Drinks on Instagram. And if you do need her contact for, purchases and all, you could, always reach out to me for that. And then for the small chops, you could check out Chops Network on Instagram, or you could always reach out to me on for her details and all. I will get it across to you, right? But thank you so much for for patronizing it. I was trying to find the proper word for it. Right, and so let's see how we could keep these businesses growing. And, whenever you get your orders and all, share your reviews with other people, right? I think it would really, really help. Yeah, so for this episode today, I was just, contemplating quite a lot of things. And there's a similarity to a particular episode. So the title of this episode is Learning Doubt, right? Learning Doubt. And there's a similarity to an episode that I did a while ago that I titled Don't Grow Up. So pardon me if you notice like I'm seizing a little bit. Been battling this congestion in my chest for a while, so it gives a little... all of those pauses come up, right? But I'm healed in Jesus' name. And so today's topic is about learning doubt, rather. Yes, learning doubt. And it became, really impressed in my heart to share this because of certain things that I noticed in my own life, and certain things that I had noticed in the things, just going around me, noticing it in the lives of other people, just seeing a particular trend go or take shape over time. And I felt it was really, really important for me to just, express my thoughts about this at this time. Now, the truth is that there are many things in this life that we learn that we were not born with, right? There are a lot of things that we learn. If you notice, like the caption on top says that we were all born believers, right? We're all born believers. And so the concept of impossibility or the concept of things not being achievable is not something that we were born with, right? Inherently, inside every individual is that passion or that mindset that says that, okay, I can do everything, or I can do anything that I want to do. And, one of the easiest examples to give, right, is the example of a baby. So when a baby is born, it's typically born in a very fragile and weak state, right? Fragile and weak state. But as time goes on, it begins to observe its environment and sees that the people that look like him, or the people that tend to give him the most attention, behave in a particular way, they do certain things. And over time they find out, or over time they begin to try to replicate the things that they see, right? So they start trying to walk, they start trying to run, start trying to talk, trying to communicate, say certain things, do certain things, and express certain abilities, right, to reflect what they are seeing at that moment in time. Now, as a parent, many times when I've noticed, I'm not a parent yet, and I will be soon, but from what I've noticed as parents, right, though the particular goal at that point in time for that child can harm them, there is absolutely no communication of unbelief that is passed across by the parents. So the child is trying to crawl or trying to stand up or do something, right? So the child's trying to crawl, and you could see they'll be like, oh my god, hey, let me use, for instance, I'll just use the name Ruby, and they'll be like, hey Ruby, you're doing so well, come on, you can do it, and you're motivating that child at that moment. And then the child now wants to move from crawling to standing, and you know that the child can fall. All you do is that, all the parent does rather, is that they create an environment that keeps the baby safe enough to be able to try those things, knowing fully well that the baby would fail, or might fail, learning in the process. And one of the things that comes to their mind is that it's a developmental stage of the child's growth, and so the bones are getting stronger, the brain is receiving information from all places and using that information to be able to help the child achieve that task at that time. And so there is a grace period where where the parents just understand that it's going to take some time and that the child may also fail. And then before you know, the child is standing, and then the parent himself, the parent themselves are the ones that will be like, okay, take a step, giving all of the motivations. And then the child begins to walk, and then the child begins to run, and okay, can you jump? And they're like, okay, jump, let's dance. And then, and all of these things are motivated by the parents because it's the anticipated normal function of a human being, right? So we expect that a human should walk, should be able to talk, should be able to communicate, to identify certain things, right? And there are definitely exceptions, but we push for these things because that is how things normally should flow. That's how things normally should go for a human being, right? Now, imagine that a child being brought up with that kind of system, under that kind of system, right? All of a sudden gets to the point in their life when they now start telling them, no, it's impossible to do that. No, it's impossible to do this. No, it's impossible to do that. At the initial point, they cannot really understand. Why are you telling me it's impossible? Why are you telling me that I can't do this or I can't achieve this, right? Because I knew in my formative years when I was growing up, you were the motivating factor telling me that nothing was impossible. I saw you achieve things and you did not give me the impression that it was impossible. Why is it now that as I have grown more, you're now telling me that, that a guy cannot do this, or a lady cannot do this, or you are not qualified for a particular task, you're not qualified for a particular activity, and that's where the real conflict begins. The real conflict begins. And because we have gotten this communication from people that we love, people that we honor, people that we trust with our lives, we subtly register it in our hearts and in our minds that these things cannot be done. These things cannot be done. Right now, so you could see that the same way we learned how to believe in certain things, right, is the same way we learned how to doubt, especially to doubt ourselves. And because the world is laden with so much negativity, right, most of the things that the world will push towards your ear is to tell you that no, you're incapable of doing certain things. They would like to put you in a very comfortable position. Just stay within your comfort zone. Stay within the confines of the things that you know, the things that you understand, the things that you can control, right? Do not put yourself in a risky position. Do not put yourself in a dangerous position. Do not put yourself in a position that would fail, right? Put yourself in a place where you are certain that you are guaranteed of results, right? And the once motivated, passionate individual now becomes very mediocre. Now, a lot of people think doubt is unbelief, which is, yes, to a large extent, doubt is unbelief, but it's actually belief in something else, right? So if I ever grow up believing in man's ability to fly, for instance, right, and I begin to doubt it, my doubt is an expression of faith in man's inability to fly, right? So I have taken another perspective and used that as my faith point, used that as my belief point. So doubt itself has to be communicated, right? Or for you to be able to doubt, an information has to be communicated to you that validates your claim to believe it, right? So, and that's how we learn how to doubt, really. That's how we learn how to doubt. That's how we get pessimistic observations or overviews over certain things, right? Because certain information is being passed into our hearts or into our minds at a particular time. Now, I told you that a lot of things motivated this particular episode, and over the past few days and weeks, I've had to really go back and think over a lot of things in my life. And I like to do that. It's like a little review of my own, life, making sure that I am in the right place. And I started, looking at my life, especially my walk with God and the expectations that I had when I started out with God. I went through some of the books that I had written in, and then Facebook has this amazing feature. I think it's still one of the reasons why I love Facebook, the memory feature, where it reminds you of certain things that you said and done. And so those memories pop up and I'm like, oh my God, Binga, so once upon a time you really, really believed this. So what happened? What changed your mind? Right? I was an absolute 100% believer in the healing power of God, right? I just believed that God could heal anything and, change anything. And that's how I lived my life at that particular point in time. And my confessions, were very firm, right? So I now started trying to figure out, okay, so what happened? Because I started experiencing some level of doubt, especially believing God to come through for me in particular things. So I started asking myself, okay, where did the decline happen? Where did the decline happen? And I started tracing it to certain information coming my way, whether the information was by words or by experience. So your experience is also an information that you do receive, right? Maybe that, maybe you tried out something and it failed, and you tried it maybe multiple times and it failed. And so it now subtly registers in your mind that this is not a possible thing. But then I go online or I'm around people and they keep on, showing forth the possibilities of God's hand in a particular thing. And I just marvel at it, and I'm like, what happened? And I was like, oh, Binga, truly the real issue is that you started having faith in the impossibility than having faith in the possibility of things happening, right? I thought about myself as a singer growing up. It got to a point where I was like, no, Binga, you're really blessed, you're really gifted as a singer. You're an exceptional songwriter, you're an exceptional communicator. And within those periods of my life, it was like there was a surge in my musical growth. There were certain barriers that I just broke, right? And certain heights I was going to. And people made their confessions about me like, oh, I believe that Binga, by this time, this is where you would be, so much. But then over time, I realized that there was a decline. And so what happened? I started doubting my abilities, and my doubt in my abilities also affected my willingness to be productive, or my willingness to grow, my willingness to practice. Because when I perceived myself as an exceptional musician, as an exceptional singer, as an anointed worshiper, I committed myself to doing every single thing that would maintain that particular mindset, right? But then the moment I started learning doubt, it made me compromise on those standards that I had set, and I started seeing the decline. And what happens is that over time, because you notice the decline, if you're not careful, you would give into that decline and make it be like, that's actually true that you're not good. But then I go over some of my older work and I'm like, man, Binga, you are such an amazing person. So what happened? Binga learned doubt along the way. And I think it happens to a lot of us, right? It happens to a lot of us. Why? And I'll give you a very funny instance. It may be funny, but it may not be funny, but I hope it is, because I've already established that it's a funny instance. But when I was growing up much younger, I was in the Netherlands, and we had an interview because our school was doing like a little documentary. The Prince of Holland was coming over to the school, so we're doing like a little documentary about the school, and so we wanted to compile it and put it on like a tape, share it to families, everything like that. So I was called for an interview, and so I was being interviewed and I was speaking, and then I think when they said thank you or something, I now smiled, and then the interviewer says, oh, you're such a handsome boy, you've got a lovely smile. And I remember how that registered in my mind perpetually, like everywhere I was going. I just felt like, okay, I was a handsome guy. And as small as I was then, it seemed like that mindset created a certain environment. A lot of people just loved to be around me. They just loved my person, you get. And I had one or two crushes in the class, which was pretty good. We came back to Nigeria, and I don't know, I got into school, secondary school, and I was embarrassed publicly, about my not being such a fine guy. And what happened to me was, I was already dealing with a lot of inferiority complex at that time, so that was just like a stamp on it. And what it did to me was, it made me begin to withdraw. And there were people that I would genuinely like to be around or genuinely have an emotional interest in. And in my mind now, I would be like, how can somebody this qualitative be with someone like me? Again, I'm not a fine guy, I'm not a cool person, I don't have that persona, I'm not charismatic and all of that. And I think I also shared that story in one of the episodes, The Diary of a Very Shy Boy. So you could check that out, right? But it registered in my mind, and I just, stopped hoping or stopped even believing that good things could come my way. Now, that particular instance built itself into something bigger, right? So once upon a time, it was just like, Obinga, your mind is registering, you're not a fine guy, there's nothing attractive about you, right? And so when I even meet people that I like, I just hi, and then I just withdraw. But then it became something bigger because it now started sipping into other things. Oh, Binga, you don't deserve good things. Good things should not come your way. Even if good things come, they're not going to last, right? Because they would always gravitate towards people that are deserving or worthy of it, right? Now, that was a terrible mindset. Now, God has been healing me and helping me come out of that particular mindset, come out of that particular thought, right? But then how has He been helping me? Through the same way I learned out, through words and through experiences. The Lord has been reintroducing His word back into my heart, and He has brought people into my life that have started reaffirming these realities. Now, I have to take the responsibility of making these convictions personal, right? Because it was the conviction of others that I gave room to in my heart that caused me to begin to doubt certain things that I believed in, right? But in as much as I value the input of people, as I value the input of my environment and everything, I am building personal convictions. Now, and one of the things that I do is that I surround myself with stories of people that are doing impossible things. When I think of my friend like E. Daniels, right? He's impaired, visually impaired, but he's an amazing music minister. He plays the guitar exceptionally. He plays the keyboard. He plays the drums. This is a guy that climbs bikes, does his laundry, And so imagine if he was put in an environment that kept him, or put in an environment, that kept him bound by his supposed limitation, right? He would not have been able to achieve all of those things. And a lot of times people do these things out of a very pure heart because they want to keep you safe. They don't want you to get injured. They don't want you to get hurt, right? But then you would never get to understand your possibilities until you're willing to take risks that people are not willing to take. If you consistently believe in what people have constituted as an impossibility, you would never ever be able to achieve anything. If the Wright brothers believed that man could not fly and they stayed with it, there's a possibility would still be, having to use cars to go long distances, right? But their belief, right, was able to create a system of flight for man, right? Man in himself, as of now, has not been able to fly as an entity, right? But then has been able to create different mechanisms to get into certain places, right, through flight. There's this other musician, I can't remember his name, but he doesn't have hands. He has hands, doesn't have fingers and all, but he plays the bass guitar exceptionally well, right? When you read the story of Helen Keller, I have her video here. The title of the video is The Miracle Worker, right? The lady that took care of her or groomed her, made her understand that if you give her the impression that she is disadvantaged, she would always live from the standpoint of being a disadvantaged person. So create in her that belief system that she can do the things that other people can do, right? Even if it is not in the method that they do it, but she could still achieve it, right? And so it's very, very important, Tyler, that we create systems around our lives that help us to learn that the impossible is possible, right? To believe in the possibility of things happening. And even as you create those systems, right, be in an environment just like the parent looks at the child trying to become something and just creates a system to cushion the effect of potential failure, right? Those systems should be who you are around other people, right? So when somebody wants to aim for something great, your words should not be the reason that they should be downcast. Let them be able to pursue that particular dream, and let your presence be like that barricade that keeps them from the wounds or the attacks of this world, right? But if you're ever going to do anything great in this life, if you're ever going to achieve anything substantial, if you're ever going to marvel the world, then you've got to unlearn doubt and you've got to relearn faith. And faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. You've got to commit yourself to the word of God at all times, Tyler. You've got to surround yourself with people that are doing great things, and let them be the motivating factor. Let them be the proof that it is possible. Let them be the proof that it exists, right? Do not get to the point where you are intimidated by people achieving things, right? So maybe you feel left out. Oh, there are people that you started with and they seem to be achieving more than you at this time. Let them be the proof, right? Instead of being in competition or harboring any form of jealousy, let them be the proof that there is a possibility for you to achieve that particular dream, that particular aspiration that you have, right? They are the proof that it's possible. And so you too, you can apply yourself to that. Oh, I have the dream to become a doctor, right? And this person has the head start from me. But the fact that they're a doctor is a proof that I too can also be a doctor. You want to, become a business mogul. You want to become a well-renowned politician, a minister, whatever it is, right? You want to invent things. You want to be an architect, come up with amazing structures, whatever it is, right? Find the people that broke the status quo, right? And let them be your motivating factor, right? The naysayers of life will always be the ones that would applaud those who say no to impossibilities. Those who are always critical of things being achieved will always be the ones celebrating those who have seen the possibility of things being achieved. Right? You were born a believer, Tyler. You were born a believer. You were born a believer. So everything that causes you to doubt, everything that causes you to question that faith that the Lord has placed in you is something that you've got to fight against. And you've got to fight for the faith that you believe, right? I want you to believe with the whole of your heart, Tyler. Right? In your own power, in our own strength, we cannot do it, right? But with God, nothing is impossible, right? So one with God is a majority. All you need in this equation of life is to add the factors that He will bring in. But do everything in your power to make sure that your convictions stay true to what God has said. Whatever it is that the Lord has placed in your heart to become and achieve, you can achieve it, Tyler. Take it from me, you can achieve it. Nothing will stop you, right? So unlearn doubt and relearn faith. I really hope this blessed you. It's a pretty long episode. I really hope that this blessed you. And please do well to share this content with other people, right? So remember that I love you, I believe in you, and I'm always rooting for you. Bye.